Victoria. Welcome back to another episode of College Talk. Today we're going to be continuing our discussion on mental health within the college community.
Yes, and we have a special guest here with us. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Herbert Wilkerson, and I go by Herb as well. I work in student counseling services here at UAB.
So can you give us a little background on what student counseling is exactly?
With student counseling, we work with all students, whether you're an incoming freshman or you're in graduate school. We work with all students. In that space, we provide safe and confidential counseling. It's free, and I say that loosely because it does come out your tuition, but you're entitled to unlimited sessions as a person who receives student counseling services. With that, we also offer couples counseling along with individual counseling. And the couples counseling, the way it works is that you as a student can come with your partner. They can be a student, or they don't have to be a student in order to receive couples counseling services. And we also offer groups. Some of the groups we offer, we have a group called Border Trans. We have a group called Flow, which is our therapy group. We have a group called Resiliency After Loss. And then we also have a group called the Black Experience. And it's a male group and a female group. And that group is about Black students at a PWI and all the obstacles that may come along with that.
So moving into our discussion, or continuing our discussion rather from last week, we had students who mentioned some of their coping mechanisms. Some were saying things like they just pray or try to pray their depression away. We had students mention that they like to take a sip of wine here and there when they're depressed or stressed. Sleeping was a big one, shopping the depression away, or just ignoring it. So for those coping mechanisms, from your professional perspective, do you think that they're healthy? And if not, what are some better alternatives for those students?
In a vacuum, those things, drinking wine from time to time, if you go shopping or things of that nature, it's not necessarily unhealthy. However, when those become your main ways of coping and you do it at an excess, then it becomes unhealthy because you're not necessarily processing through dealing with what's going on, and you end up self-medicating in ways when it comes to how you use alcohol, how you use drugs, how you use even prescription pills that may not be prescribed to you, or shopping, or even exercise done to a point where it's unhealthy, can all be forms of self-medication and can be considered unhealthy. So when we look at healthier forms, we think about mindfulness activities. We think about exercise, but of course in like a more structured, healthier way, more balanced. And even the word exercise, we don't use as much. We use movement because exercise itself can have a negative connotation. Connecting with other people are things that we think about when it comes to healthier coping tools, versions of self-care, things that help you feel rejuvenated, reconnected, refreshed, and whatnot.
You mentioned connecting with people. How important is it to have a good support system?
Having a good support system is extremely important. When it comes to support, sometimes it doesn't come from the place that you think it should come from. Like naturally you'll say, well, my parents or family members should play this particular role. But sometimes it may come from mentors, it may come from professors, it may come from friends that you meet along the way, or just older people that you may know, or people your age you may know. Could work as a support system. But it's very important because you need a place where, people that you can be around and be yourself. A lot of times we get around individuals and we feel like we got to be something beyond ourselves, something we're not, or to pertain or uphold a certain image. And so support systems are very important.
What advice would you give to any students that are in high school that are maybe watching this video to prepare them mentally for the transition into college?
I would say for high school students coming into college, just know it's not going to be high school, number one. There's a lot more autonomy when it comes to going to class. You don't have to go, which I struggled with that in the beginning. Finding balance, what it looks like for you when it comes to studying and enjoying college from the atmosphere, fun aspect of it. I know myself, I had to find ways to navigate how much time I spent with my fraternity brothers and things like that, and making sure I'm putting the required amount of time into studying. Studying can be different from high school to college. I had to learn how to really invest my time in the library, where in high school I didn't have to do nearly as much. So definitely a transition mentally is a good bit. Relationships are different when you come to college, because whether it's friendships or you're dating somebody, that can really, demand time and demand energy.
How important is it for Black students specifically to seek out counseling, because there can be a bit of a stigma around it? They can be like, oh, like Shakoria said, oh, I'll just pray it away.
Yeah.
Things don't always work that way. So what would you
Or
say
is
to
attached
those
to being
students?
viewed as crazy,
Yeah.
something like that.
Or what stays in this house?
Happens in the house, stays in his house.
Happens in the house, stays in the
Yeah.
house. When you look at just us as a people in history, I mean, we haven't had the luxury for a long time of having feelings and being able to express those things, or having multiple identities as a Black person. You think that you're black, or you're not Black enough. It's like one of the two,
You gotta
one of those
pick,
things.
yeah.
Yeah. And so over time, the church and things of that nature has become like our only way of escape when it comes to expressing emotions and having a space. And with that, now you have this stigma attached to it, to where, we don't talk to outside people about it. We go to church and that's it. And we just leave it at the altar and we pray about it. And people get frustrated when they can't pray it away. And sometimes when you have something like that, depression that is clinically diagnosed, and it's not a situational thing, it's something that you're living with, it's different. And so get into a space where you can talk about it. Or if you grew up in a situation where there was violence, domestic abuse, absent parents, instabilities or whatnot, you need to be in a space where you can talk about it and get some perspective about your experiences. And so even though that stigma exists, we've done a lot of work to decrease that stigma. We've done a lot of work intentionally on campus to decrease that stigma, so we're getting more students of color engaged in counseling services, whether it's presenting to their student organizations, presenting to staff members, starting the group, the Black Experience group, ways to really work to decrease that stigma that exists, and then addressing it too. Different organizations do panels and whatnot on like the Black church and mental health and whatnot. And so it's definitely working in the right direction, but it exists, and it's something that we still have to continue to press forward to.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time and explaining all that to the UAB student body. If you're interested in setting up an appointment, we're going to link to the website down below in the description box, so be sure to check that out.
Also, can I mention this?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Plug yourself.
Plug it.
Well, we have these two groups called the Black Experience. It's a male group and a female group. The Black Experience was designed to a safe space, an affinity group of sorts for Black students to discuss issues of being a Black student at a predominantly white institute.
And if somebody wanted to be a part of those groups, how would they do that?
It's a drop-in group. We post it on social media. The male group is the third Tuesday of the month at 7 o'clock in New Fresh Underground. The ladies group is the third Thursday of the month, 7 o'clock, New Fresh Underground.
Okay.
This next group is going to be December 13th. It's going to be a combined group, 7 o'clock, New Fresh Underground.
Is there a subject for that group?
We're going to kind of, take on some more of the relationship talk, but bring in what we talked about in the last session from the internal perspective into the group. So it's not like a battle of the sexes kind of thing. You're just kind of barking at each other, but more or less internal, and seeing each other's perspective. So
You said that you guys posted on your social media
it's
accounts.
on social media. We send it to BSAC, BMAN, BGSA, different clubs, NPAC. They're posting on social media as well.
We'll be sure to also link that below the social media account. So if you're on campus or in the area and want to stop by that discussion group, then you should definitely check it out. Anything else before we close out? No?
No.
Okay. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of College Talk. I'm Shakoria,
And I'm Tara.
and we'll see you guys next time.
So as a student here at UAB, you might wonder, do I need counseling? When do I need to talk to somebody? And there are certain things you can look out for. Say you've been sad for long periods of time, and it's led to you isolating yourself from others. Maybe you haven't eaten as much. Maybe self-care when it comes to hygiene hasn't been much of a priority. then you might need to come talk to somebody. Maybe you've shown signs of anxiety to where heart palpitations, sweaty palms, feeling as if you're having a heart attack, the world is closing in around you, stress levels are extremely high, and there for a long period of time, it might be time to talk to somebody. Maybe you feel overwhelmed in general. It could be time to talk to somebody, and talking is okay. You know, as black people, we have a hard time thinking it's okay for us to talk to people. The reality of it is that everybody needs a space where they can talk. The thing about counseling, it is a safe space, and it's about you and only you. It's not about me, it's about you. There's not many safe spaces in this world that you can find to where you can talk about you without having to then return that same support to somebody else. The beauty of coming to counseling is that we don't need your support. We're here to support you.